One moral question seems to come up an awful lot. To be more specific, it comes up every time a bad person dies. The moral question is simple. How should we react when a bad person dies? I think it is fitting that we discuss this following the death of Rush Limbaugh. First of all, I think we should note the differences in bad guys. Important questions that could impact how we should respond to a bad person dying may include: how bad was the person? In what way were they bad? How much harm was them being alive causing? How much more harm would they do if they continued to live? And how did they die? I personally believe that these questions and others are very important if we are to answer this moral question properly. I also think we need to differentiate between the two main reasons that the death of a bad person could be viewed as just. The first reason is, of course, retribution. Some people argue the death of a bad person is just because they deserved a bad thing to happen to them after the bad that they have done. The second reason is far more defensible and is based more upon an actual desire to better society than a primitive desire for retribution. One could argue that a bad person dying could be a good thing if the death of that person would prevent them from doing more harm. This, for example, could be the case with Rush Limbaugh, as his death undeniably prevented him from doing more harm to society. My personal opinion is that we should avoid celebrating death, particularly the primitive and dangerous desire for retribution. When someone's natural death stops them from doing far more harm, this could be viewed as a good thing, depending on both the nature of their death and the amount of harm that was prevented. I think, for example, that Rush Limbaugh dying was probably a good thing as it prevented him from doing more harm. I will also say that I take serious issue with those who like the idea of Rush suffering and burning in hell. Rush Limbaugh was a bad man, but we should not delude ourselves into thinking that a primitive and bloodthirsty desire for revenge is a good and acceptable thing. This is not to say Limbaugh had to die, as him retiring or reforming his beliefs could potentially have had the same effect. I think that it is generally beneficial that each of these moral cases is examined individually, as all of them are very different, sometimes leading to complex moral questions. It is important these cases of bad people dying are discussed with a high degree of nuance. Overall, I think that it is most useful to understand that death is generally a bad thing, but the natural deaths of certain dangerous individuals can be a beneficial thing for society.